My name is Nate, and I am the creator of Twistopia, as well as the second channel, Let's Procrastinate. And welcome to the first video in this Twistopian society. This is going to be a corner of the channel dedicated to diving into the world of Twistopia to see how everything comes together. I'll be making videos like this, as well as possibly other forms of content to come. But today, we're going to be focusing on the first cover of Twistopia, which was He's the Same. So with a cover like this, that sets the tone for Twistopia and the worlds to come after it, and the cover that goes in a very unique direction from the original song. The question that we'll be diving into today is, what goes into creating He is the Same? So the first section to tackle when creating a new world is to figure out the concept. To set the structure for the basics, I broke it down into two parts, the song and the style. For the song, I thought that He is the Same would be the best choice. Lyrically, I think it sets the tone well for this channel because this channel picks up where the last channel left off. I'm still here, and even though the style of things might be changing, I'm still creating and I'm making covers. At heart, I am a creator, and I really wanted to emphasize that in this video. It's also the first track in Jon Bellion's The Human Condition, and that as the starting track of that album felt like a nice parallel to this being the first cover in the start of Twistopia. The style of it came fairly quickly for as weird of a sound as it is. I definitely knew I wanted to do something cinematic, and this was to kind of emphasize the type of quality that I wanted the channel to move towards. And I also thought, again, as an opener, this would just be the most impactful way to set the tone. A lot of tone setting. Although, if you've seen the cover by this point, you know that it gets a little stranger than it just being a cinematic version of a song. So, what went into the music production? Welcome to my small workstation. This is one of the cozier areas of the room where most of the weirder ideas happen. I'm gonna open up the project for He is the Same, and we can take a look at what went into the music production. Okay, so I have the project open right now, and I will be showing you the step-by-step kind of ideas that came together. So initially for the demo, this was all going to be purely cinematic. So it started with the keys. I thought that this was a nice kind of nod to cinematic trailer music. So I got these vintage keys that replicate that same dramatic cinematic feel. So that's like your typical super cinematic, high keys, lots of reverb. So after that, I added the synths with the bass underneath. That kind of synth that goes like, wow, that kind of buzz, I think does a really good job of opening up the track. And this is where we sort of get more of a bass structure, more of a groundwork laid down. The foundation starts to come together a bit more because it's not just this high, thin sound by itself, but it's a high, thin piano sound combined with this nice, full-bodied, bassier tone. And then after that, to give it more of a pulse, I added in the drums. So that was the initial demo, and then from there, I kind of had to figure out which direction I was going to go with this. And then after tapping on the keys a bit more, I got to this section with the piano. And those last kind of chords there already gave me this sort of moving rhythm, something with a bit of swing, so I decided to see if I could add a bass line underneath. And at this direction, this is where I realized I could go with something that was a bit more alt-pop. And then with this being a channel that encourages experimentation, I just went full on into trying to combine both. So I did a little bit of this cinematic alternate mix. And I'll kind of pick apart some of the key ingredients that make each section what it is. So the bass and keys are kind of the main sections here, but there's this drum pattern that I put underneath as well. And this is a little bit of a nod to Jon Bellion as well. It doesn't quite have that drum pocket, but it is something that's a little more unique. It doesn't follow the same kind of like 4 on the floor feel. This has a more offbeat swing. So already you start to get this rhythm moving along here. And then I added this vocal here that I sampled to give it something that felt a little more airy. It's something that feels definitely a little bit more experimental, and then also is just a very nice, pleasing sound to the ears. And now I'm gonna share a few little key details in this song that I am very, very excited to show you. The first is gonna be the censor that I did for this song. So if you remember, there's a section where there should be a swear, and just generally as a rule of thumb, I try to avoid some of the harsher swears, and this is both to reach kind of a wider audience, but it's also because swearing isn't really something that fits my character, I guess, if you want to go with that. It's kind of like those videos on the internet of SpongeBob's voice actor swearing. It's just very jarring and doesn't quite fit. So you can tell in the first verse here, I believe, I say, "What the a bad day," and I replaced that word with a brassy section, which isn't there just to kind of cover it up, but it's also there to set up the intro of the trumpet that comes a bit later in this next section. So I'll play the censor first. It's very quick. What the a bad day. But it's something that just feels very like fun to throw in there, a nice substitute, and that brass starts to set up the ear, and it prepares it to hear this later on, this trumpet section that comes towards the end of the chorus, I believe. Nothing has changed, again, something that I just sort of added in to mix it up a bit. The other thing that I'm very happy about here is the beatbox and drum mix. So the drums, like I mentioned before, are very kind of offbeat. And that, just with the vocals, can be a bit hard to follow. Let me see if I can get those playing. Sister told him keep your head right. And it works now because everything is put together and put in its place, but when recording this was definitely a bit harder to follow because the way that the lyrics are said don't quite match up with some of these rhythms. That hi-hat that pops in there can really throw you off. And then I added my own replication of Jon Bellion's famous He Is the Same beatbox, which is kind of the key iconic ingredient of the original song. And as a bit of a happy little accident, I found out that when you put the drums and the beatboxing together, they both kind of bounce off each other like a ping pong ball and paddles. The beatboxing there is filling up all of those little empty spaces, and it creates something that becomes not only something easier to follow when singing, but also creates a more complex rhythmic groove. It's just rolling together. So the last section is this little nod to another one of Jon Bellion's songs, which I don't know if many people caught because it was kind of thrown in there almost in the same way that a lot of these other little extra things were placed in. So it's this section here on the word low. But he kept it on the low. They could never. And it's definitely thrown in there, but I thought that it would just be a fun little Easter egg to throw in there as a nod to Jon Bellion's song All Time Low. Low, 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 low. The rhythm is definitely different. The key's going to be different, but overall, it's in there, and it's a fun little Easter egg if you found it. For this channel with the covers, I did something that I don't usually do, which is storyboarding / shotlisting. And it's a technique that I definitely didn't appreciate as much or use that much in the first channel, but I started to do it for this channel just to kind of put ideas together in a way that was more organized and cohesive. and it definitely works. Being able to lay out your ideas and create a blueprint for the final product is an extremely valuable and helpful tool. I'm not much of an artist, so a lot of my drawings consist of stickmen, but that's kind of the beauty of it too, is that it doesn't necessarily need to be anything super artistic on paper. This is really exactly what it is, just a list of visual shots to give you a guide as to how the actual process and end result should look. And it also gave me a good way to pace myself while making the video. I wanted to create a very subtle story with this video, and I think that this is something that I want to continue to do because the way that visual elements are executed can help to really elevate the musical track itself. And I do want the music to be one of the main central parts of the video, but if I can add something along to it, even better. So for this, I wanted this to be kind of this transition point from the old channel to the new channel, with characters who seem to be waiting to be awakened for this new world of Twistopia. And that's exactly what they start to do. Once the music kicks in, things start to become more lively and awake. The shots start to spin a bit more, you get to see more of this new room and this new world. And at the end, even though the song ends and one of the performers starts to shut down as the song ends, there's kind of this glance out the window, which you can interpret in as many ways as you want, but I like to think of it as a very artistic way of looking into this world of Twistopia and kind of looking forward to what's to come, which is like very textbook English teacher artistic interpretations, but I also live for like these sort of over-analysis types of things. So, welcome to the video production workstation. If you've been with the channel for a while, then you are pretty familiar with this setup. This is where a lot of the main big project creation happens, as well as working for clients on the side. And this is where I edited just about all of He Is the Same. I would show some of the more shot for shot sort of stuff on here, but sadly, I almost said luckily, sadly, I kind of destroyed everything and deleted all the project files because my computer was running out of space and I kind of forgot that I planned to make this video. Yeah, I will say luckily, the editing process for this was fairly simple just because being able to have storyboarded everything before creates a perfect guide for how to structure everything in post. That being said, there are a few stylistic edits that I wanted to point out that I thought might be interesting to share. The first one are the little visuals that come up throughout the video. This is something that I think I will continue to implement in future Twistopia videos, and I love adding this sort of stuff because it adds something new for your eyes to be drawn to, it fills up some of the blank spaces in the video, and it also contributes to the overall style that you're going for. I'm someone who has a relatively short attention span, so throwing in new things to latch onto is the perfect kind of pacing for me. Another favorite stylistic effect that I like to use is the glitch effect, and one thing that I found really effective is not to use it in a way where it covers the entire screen in a static kind of look. I feel like that can be used in a really effective way when needed, but there's something even more effective about being able to only use it on certain portions. What I did for some of these effects is, if you pay attention, you'll see that the effect only affects I'm saying this word so many times it's not even sounding like a word. The effect only affects certain portions of the shot, whether that's my skin in some of the shots or whether it is the instruments that I'm playing. This is a really good way to smooth out transitions, it's a good way to make the whole video a little more lively, and it's a good way to draw the viewer's attention towards what you're really trying to get them to focus on. And lastly, a way more subtle effect that is also a favorite of mine is the cinematic cinemascope bars. What you'll see throughout the video is that I chose to have the cinema bars for the parts of the song that were set in a more cinematic style, and the bars come off for the sections that are a bit more alternative feeling. So it's a very subtle effect, but again, I think that this is one of those things where, if done right, the visuals can really enhance the impact that the musical track is trying to achieve. I love editing, I love mixing all these different parts together and structuring ideas, and editing is one of my favorite things in the world because it's a whole process where you can do that. You can grab all these different ideas and transform video shots into something completely new. I love it. I'm a very overly artsy person. Love art. This is the point of the day where I'm starting to lose my mind. It is like, it's 8:30. And I've been filming this for like the past few hours now. And this boy's running on Taco Bell. She is the same. And that about wraps it up. So I hope you enjoyed this little peek into the world of He Is the Same on Twistopia. This is kind of a quality of content that I'm hoping to continue moving forward, and I'm still testing things out, still trying to figure out how to put everything together. So you could sort of call this, as well as the He Is the Same cover, kind of a pilot episode of Twistopia, if you will. But I do like to think of all these as their own experimental creative worlds, and that experimentation is exactly what I'm hoping to achieve with Twistopia. If you have any questions about He Is the Same Reimagined that I didn't talk about in this video, feel free to leave them below. I'm hoping to do another behind the scenes video for the next cover as well, so I will hopefully see you then. But until then, feel free to stick around on this channel and Twistopia for more content, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.